welcome back to History Snapshots, and at this point in the World War II unit, you guys should know a lot about the fighting that was taking place in Europe. Also, you should know that by 1940, America was helping defeat the Nazis through the Lend-Lease Act, but by 1940, America had not put any of their own troops on the ground. However, that quickly changed, as you guys know, after Pearl Harbor, or the day that Roosevelt said will forever live in infamy. So, now that the United States was bombed, it was time for them to get involved in the fighting. In fact, after Pearl Harbor happened, Congress declared war on Japan later that day. But as you guys know from World War I, to fight a major war requires the entire country to mobilize or to prepare for the fighting. So that is the subject of this video, the United States preparation for World War II. So, at the end of this video, make sure you can answer the question, how did the United States prepare for World War II? Get ready to take some notes, answer some questions, and continue learning history. So this should be a pretty quick video because most of this stuff is pretty straightforward. So let's begin. Now, the first challenge the United States faced was to build up its armed forces. So, to do that, Congress enacted a draft law, and just after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, Congress decided to revise this law and require people to serve for the entire war. So, now the United States had been bombed, Congress said that everyone would be required to serve until the war was finished. Let's talk about the way America built its military. Eventually, more than 15 million Americans would serve in World War II in some way or another. And these Americans came from all walks of life, from every religious creed, ethnicity, and race you can imagine. So African Americans and women played a very important role in getting America ready for the war. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. But what's important for you guys to know now is that during this time period, everyone was contributing to the war, even African Americans and especially women. In addition to building its military, America was also getting its economy ready for the war. So the American industry quickly converted its output from consumer to military goods. So the Americans started to produce tanks, machines, guns, and war supplies, much like they did during World War I. And the government established a war production board to supervise the changeover and set goals for production. Now, as a result of the war production board, military output nearly doubled, and the war quickly ended the Great Depression. So, because America was producing so many weapons, this created a ton of jobs for people to work in factories, and this really helped with the massive unemployment that was going on in the 1930s, which you guys looked about in the 1930s and you saw during Cinderella Man. So, this wartime economy, which was dedicated to producing weapons, really helped end the Great Depression as well as get America ready for war. Let's talk about the ways Americans supported the war effort. So, all Americans were expected to play a role in supplying Allied forces with food, clothing, and war equipment. As in World War I, Americans planted victory gardens to supplement food supplies and bought war bonds to help pay military costs. But something new that Americans did during World War II was they rationed food. So rationing is an act of setting limits on the amount of scarce goods people can buy. So Americans were issued ration coupons to purchase coffee, sugar, meat, shoes, gasoline, tires, and many other goods. So what this means was those goods were very valuable. So the government set a limit onto how many cups of coffee or tires Americans could buy during the war. And so this was a way that the United States could make sure that all the citizens were getting ready for the war and supporting their efforts. So as you guys probably already know, women played a really big role in World War II. So with millions of men overseas fighting, defense industries needed a new source of labor. So the government began a large-scale effort to recruit women to work in industries. So millions of women took over jobs in factories and shipyards. Some of the jobs they did included welding, running and operating huge cranes, becoming bus drivers, police officers, or gas station attendants. This fictional character, Rosie the Riveter, which you see in this picture right here, became a popular symbol of all women who worked for the war effort. And this picture of Rosie flexing her muscles was just to show American women that they were strong enough to work in the industries, much like men, and support the war effort. And this was really important because not only did it help the United States prepare for war, but it also allowed women an opportunity to show that they were capable of working out in the field, in the workforce, and that they too could contribute to this effort. That concludes your introduction to how America mobilized for World War II, but before you X out of this video, make sure you, number one, understand all highlighted terms, number two, answer all the questions below, especially that essential question from the beginning of the lecture, and number three, write down something that confuses you so you can bring it up in class tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.